So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Lions made a lot of moves in the NFL draft. They were one of the teams that made the most trades throughout 2023, and they were one of the teams that moved around the absolute most, and that includes late on night two. As the NFL draft was concluding for the night, Brad Holmes decided to make a splash. He decided to make a massive trade to shake up the draft, to shake up the draft capital, and to go get a player that he had his eyes set on. That player was Broderick Martin. And in order to get to the 96th overall pick to select him, Brad Holmes gave up a 4th-round pick and 2 5th-round picks. The 122nd pick, the 139th pick, as well as the 168th overall selection were sent to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for the 96th overall selection. And in return for that, the Detroit Lions walked away with defensive tackle Brodric Martin from Western Kentucky. Now, this is a move that a lot of people speculated about. This is a move that a lot of people didn't really understand when it happened. It's a move that a lot of people still disagree with based on all of the capital that Brad Holmes had to give up in order to acquire Brodrick Martin. And today, we're going to talk about the player. We're going to talk about the trade. We're going to talk about what Brodrick Martin does well, what he's bringing to the defense, and why Brad Holmes may have traded all those assets in order to go get the defensive tackle from Western Kentucky. So with all of that being said, without any further ado, let's get into taking a look at Brodrick Martin, the 96th overall selection of the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, Brodrick Martin, starting off with the statistics, Brodrick Martin's not going to jump off the screen when you look at his stats, right? Over his 2-year career at Western Kentucky, had 62 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, as well as 3 passes defended, playing primarily the nose tackle position lined up directly over the center. Now, you might look at that and say, okay, you just gave up a bunch of picks to move up in the 3rd round and select a guy that has 6 career tackles for loss and 4 career sacks across 2 seasons. But again, nose tackle is one of those positions where you really can't judge it based off statistics. It's one of those things where you really have to watch him play to grasp why this position is so important and to kind of see why this player might be worth all of those draft assets as well as a top 100 selection. Now, to kind of put into comparison statistically where he measures up, he was more statistically successful than a 1st-round pick this past season. Mazi Smith, a player that plays the exact same position as him. He had more tackles for loss, more sacks, as well as being about 3 inches bigger and significantly heavier than Mazi Smith was at Michigan. So if you want to compare statistically, he is far from the least profitable player on the defense, at least in college football a season ago. And yeah, he's not going to get the major stats, but again, that just isn't a position that's going to get a lot of the glory. It's going to be a position that's double teamed. It's going to be a position that just kind of eats up blocks, somebody that's just going to make some run stops at the line of scrimmage, mitigate a lot of the damage, and kind of be the unsung hero of the defense like Aleem McNeil has been for the last 2 seasons. Now, looking at his pros and cons, Brodrick Martin brings size to the defense. 6'5", 337 pounds at the nose tackle position, which is a far cry from where Aleem McNeil was last year, being at just 6'2" and being a good weight, but not nearly as heavy or having the size of Brodrick Martin on the interior of that defensive line. Brodrick Martin, I believe, immediately becomes the biggest defensive lineman in that room, at least on the interior, and is one of the probably stronger players on that defensive line. His size and strength are incredible. I think the quickness for his size is really, really good. His hand usage is really good for only playing 2 years of collegiate ball. And his ability to stop the run is why Brad Holmes drafted him. It's why he gave up all those assets. It's why he selected him with a top 100 selection and didn't feel comfortable with him falling to 122. It's because Brodrick Martin is a great run stopper. He's a player that is going to be the unsung hero of this defense. He's going to take on double teams. He is going to kind of get grinded out every single play, but he's going to take on those double teams. He's not going to move an inch, and he's going to open up lanes for Aleem McNeil. He's going to open up lanes for Isaiah Buggs. He's going to open up pass rushing lanes and blitzing lanes for guys like Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes. He's going to open up one-on-one opportunities for James Houston and John Kaminsky and Aiden Hutchinson, and he is going to be kind of the gear engine of this defense, and he's going to do a really, really good job at it. Now, as far as weaknesses, obviously the production isn't incredible. He's not a great pass rusher necessarily. He's not the most productive or, kind of the most valuable player when it comes to statistics. He doesn't really get a lot of the numbers, which is kind of a problem, right? Obviously, guys like Jalen Carter at the defensive tackle position are more profitable when it comes to statistics, and that's not going to be Brodrick Martin's game, and as well as versatility. This is not going to be a 3-tech. This is not going to be a pass rusher. This is not going to be a 5-tech. This is not going to be an edge rusher that you can move inside. This is a pure 100% of the snaps, nose tackle, and if you play a 4-man front, he could probably kick out to 3-tech or kind of be that in between the center and the guard, but he's not going to play on the exterior. He's not going to play anything outside of the guard position or outside of where the guards line up. He is an interior pass rusher. He's an interior run stopper, and he plays his role, but isn't going to kind of be a player like John Kaminsky that plays a lot of roles at a high level. Brodrick Martin is kind of stuck in the middle, but he plays his role incredibly well. Now, unfortunately, Brodrick Martin is not very athletic. He has incredible size for the defensive tackle position, but the 40 time a 5'3" 40, which a guy for, 330 pounds, that's not too bad. A guy at 6'5", 330, not bad at all. But, as far as overall speed, not very good. But you don't need elite speed grades to be a nose tackle. You don't need elite agility grades to be a nose tackle. You don't, size obviously helps. And the explosiveness is kind of something that needs to potentially be addressed. But again, he's a run stopper. He's not necessarily a pass rusher. He doesn't need that elite get off. He needs to get in the person's chest. He needs to push them back with his strength and, win that one-on-one battle or kind of anchor against the 2-on-1 battle, which is something he can do and doesn't necessarily need the explosiveness, the speed, the agility. He has the size to eat up space, and he has the strength to take on multiple blockers at the same time. Now, overall for this player, I think Brodrick Martin is a C+. I think he has the potential to turn into an A. I think if he starts the whole season, if he turns into kind of one of those Brad Holmes hidden gems that he's so well known for, this could very well turn into an A pick. This grade could go up astronomically. It could go up very, very quickly. But as of right now, it is a costly selection, right? It's a player that you gave up a lot of draft capital to go get. 3 picks in the 4th and 5th round that you could potentially have future stars at, future superstars and future starters, right? Guys like James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Derek Barnes, players that have roles, players that have starting potential, players that turn into superstar players on your team and franchise pieces. You gave up the potential for that to go get Brodrick Martin, meaning he has to hit. Right? If you're giving up 3 swings at the bat for one player that you're guaranteed to have, that guaranteed player has to be an asset. That guaranteed player has to start eventually and has to be a really good player. Now, Brodrick Martin is costly. Brodrick Martin is risky because if he doesn't hit, again, you're giving up those 3 selections for nothing, but the upside is there. The starting nose tackle is there. I would not be surprised if Brodrick Martin does start at the nose tackle position for the Detroit Lions and they move Aleem McNeil to the 3-tech, essentially making 2 players better with 1 selection. But the risk, the cost is something that is incredibly risky for this team and for a team that has playoff aspirations, a team that needs to stop the run next year if they want to get to where they want to be, if they want to win the division, if they want to go on a Super Bowl or a deep playoff run. Risk isn't really something that they can afford, but it's a thing that they did end up going with. And I think Brodrick Martin is going to have the upside. I think he's going to have every opportunity to succeed. But with the risk and the cost in order to go get this player, I do think that it is a C+ grade until proven otherwise. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Of course, let me know down in the comments below, how would you initially grade this pick? Where would you kind of put Brodrick Martin in a grand scale of this defense? Do you think he's going to succeed? Do you think he's going to be a starting nose tackle? Do you think he's kind of a developmental guy? I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think and how you guys grade the pick. But with all that being said, if you made it all the way through the video and you enjoyed, please make sure to like the video and subscribe. Helps the channel out a ton. And of course, you can hit the bell notification so you never miss a Detroit Lions upload. But with that being said, thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions!